Hello guys, this is Bhushan and today we are going to learn what is calculus in machine learning. So let us get started with our video. Okay, you need to know some basic calculus in order to understand how functions change over time, that is derivatives, and to calculate the total amount of quantity that accumulates over a time period, that is integrals. The language of calculus will allow you to speak precisely about the properties of functions and better understand their behavior. Normally, taking a calculus course involves doing lots of tedious calculations by hand. But having the power of computers on your side, you can make the process much more fun. This section describes the keywords of calculus which you will need to know to understand machine learning concepts. Okay. The first thing that we are going to learn in calculus is derivatives, and the other thing we are going to learn in calculus is the integrals. So let us get started with derivatives. A derivative can be defined in two ways. One is a physical form and other is a geometrical form. Let's first see what is a physical form. The instantaneous rate of change is the physical form, and the slope of line at any specific point is the geometrical form. Both represent the same principle, but for our purposes, it's easier to explain using geometric definition. Okay. Now, in geometry, slope represents the steepness of a line. It answers the question how much does y or f of x changes given a specific change in x, that is delta y upon delta x. It's the ratio of how much is the change in y given the change in x. Okay, using this definition we can easily calculate the slope between any two points. But what happens if I would ask you, instead of a slope between 2 points, what is the slope at a given point? In this case, there isn't any obvious rise over run to calculate. Derivatives help us answer this question. A derivative outputs an expression we can use to calculate the instantaneous rate of change or slope at a point on a line. After solving for the derivative, you can use it to calculate the slope at every other point on the line. Okay. Now consider the graph f of x is equal to that is actually x square. Okay, so x square plus 3. Now this curve is an parabolic curve. Okay, what would be the slope at between the point 1 comma 4 and 3 comma 12? We can calculate it easily by the formula y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. So the slope comes out to be 4. But how do we calculate the slope at a point 1 comma 4? That is, if we have 2 points, we can calculate the slope by the formula y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. But what if we have to calculate the slope at just a point? What do we then do? The answer is just simple. We just take the derivative of the function at that point. But how do we take the derivative of the function at that point? Not taking the derivative, but how do we calculate the slope at a point 1 comma 4 to reveal the change in slope at the specific point? One way would be to find the two nearest points, calculate their slopes relative to, and take the average. But calculus provides an easier, more precise way. Computing the derivative of a function is essentially the same as our original proposal. But instead of finding the two closest points, we make up an imaginary point and an infinitesimal small distance away from R and compute the slope between R and the new point. In this way, derivative helps us to answer the question. How does f of x change if we have a very tiny increase to x? In other words, derivatives helps to estimate the slope between 2 points that are an infinitesimal small distance away from each other, a very small distance but large enough to calculate the slope. In math language, we represent this infinitesimal small increase using a limit. A limit is defined as the output value of functions approaches as the input value approaches another value. In our case, the target value is specific point at which we want to calculate the slope. Okay. Now calculating the derivative is same as calculating normal slope. However, in this case, we can calculate the slope between our point and a point infinitesimally close to it. We use the variable h to represent this infinitesimal distance. Here are the two steps. Okay, so I'll explain you whatever I read now. Uh, Now, as you know that we can calculate the slope between any 2 points by the formula y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. So when we have to calculate a slope at a single point, what we do is we consider a point that is extremely close to that point. For example, if we have a point x comma y, we consider a point that is present at the x coordinate x plus h, where h tends to 0. Okay, the limit of h is 0. So the point is extremely close to that point, and then we have 2 points, and then we calculate it by using the formula y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1, where y2 and y1 in this case are f of x and f of x plus h. Okay, when we apply the formula, the result would be f of x plus h, that is y2 minus f of x upon x plus h minus x, that would be h. So the formula comes out to be f of x plus h minus f of x upon h. You could see it in the third. Apply the slope formula. The slope formula comes out to be f of x plus h minus f of x upon h, which is equivalent to y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1, where y2 and x2 in this case are an point infinitesimally close to the original point. Okay, now given a function f of x is equal to x square, how do we calculate the derivative of at any point? What we would do is we would substitute the value in the formula, and then we would get x of x plus h whole square minus x square, which would be equal to 2xh plus h square upon h. Now h would be get cancelled, and we would get 2x plus h. Okay, as you can see, we get 2x plus h. Okay, now applying the limit to h, as h tends to 0, we just have 2x. So what does that mean? That means that the derivative of x square is 2x. The slope at any point equals to 2x. The formula is defined as f of x plus h minus f of x upon h. I hope this derivative was clear to you. So we have our first derivative of a function, that is 2x. Now like this we can calculate the derivative of any function. Some functions are complicated, some functions are easy, like the x square was easy one. Some functions are complicated. So we also have a formula list of all the functions and their derivatives. Many of us, by practice, we learn the formulas of, like, x cube is 3x square, x raised to 4 is 4x cube, sin x is cos x, and like this. You need to practice the formula. You can also derive it from this formula itself, or you can just google the formula list and you will get the essential ones. Okay, now let us see how would a computer calculate the derivative of any function. We need to pass the code in order the computer would understand how to get the derivative of a function. So let us write a code to calculate the derivative of any function. For our testing, we would use the function f of x is equal to x square, which we know the derivative is 2x. So let us see if our computer gets closer to the derivative 2x. Okay, now definition, we actually code in Python. Okay, so definition, get derivative comma bracket function comma x. The function comma x is a parameter and get derivative is a function. Okay, and h is equal to 0.001. Actually the value of h that is used in mathematics is quite less than 0.001, but 0.001 is also a valid value. We would get some error, but it's fine. And we would written function of x plus h minus function of x upon h, that is the derivative of a function. And the definition of f of x, we written x square. Okay, now for x is equal to 3, our value should be 6, that is 2x, so our derivative should be 6. Now computed is equal to get derivative f of x actually is equal to 2x, and the value is 6.001 comma 6, which is actually very pretty close. In general, it's preferable to use the math to obtain exact derivative formulas, but keep in mind you can always compute derivatives numerically by computing the rise over run for a small step h. Okay, now machine learning use cases. Machine learning uses the derivatives in optimization problems. Optimization algorithms like gradient descendant, we use derivatives to decide whether to increase or decrease weights in order to maximize or minimize some objective. For example, a model's accuracy or error functions. Derivative also help us to approximate non-linear functions as a linear functions. For example, tangent lines which have a constant slopes. With a constant slope, we can decide whether to move up or down the slope. That is increase or decrease our weights to get closer to the target value, that is class label. Okay, now chain rule. The chain rule is a formula for calculating the derivatives of composite functions. Now, what are composite functions? Composite functions is, for example, sine of 3x is a composite function. Why is it a composite function? Because it is not sine of 3, it is not sine of x, it is sine of 3x. 3x is another function and sin x is another function, that is a of b of x is a composite function. So how it works, given a composite function f of x is equal to a of b of x, like sine of 3x is not very clear, we would take some another example. For example, sine of cos x is a actual derivative, is actually a composite function. You would clearly understand the derivative of f of x equals the product of derivative of a with the respect to b of x and the derivative of b with respect to x. Composite function derivative is equal to outer function derivative into inner function derivative. For example, in case of sine of x square, the derivative would be the derivative of sine of x square, assuming that x square is equal to x, that is the derivative of sine of x. So it would be cos of x square into the derivative of x square, that is 2x. So it would be, the overall derivative would be cos of x square into 2x. Okay. Now, for example, given a composite function f of x where f of x is equal to h of g of x, the chain rule tells us that the derivative of f of x would be equal to d of f of x. df upon dx is equal to dh upon dg into dg upon dx. We can also tell that f prime x is equal to h prime g of x into g prime x. Okay. Now step by step, for example, f of x is composed of two functions, h of x is equal to x cube and g of x is equal to x square. Now f of x is equal to h of g of x, that is x square into uh, x square whole cube. The derivative of fx would equal This is nothing but x raised to 6. So the derivative we would know is 6x raised to 5. Okay. So the formula was d of f upon dx into dg upon dh upon dg into dg upon dx. So basically dg gets cancelled and dh upon dx is what we calculate. Okay. Now solve for inner derivative of g of x is equal to x square. So dg upon dx is 2x. Okay. And dh upon dg would be dh upon d. Now solve for the outer derivative of x hf x is equal to x cube using a placeholder b to represent the inner function x square. Okay, so it would be 3b square, but actually b is nothing but x square. So it would be 3x raised to 4, and 3x raised to 4 into 2x would be 6x raised to 5. So the chain rule actually works. Then multiple functions. In the above example, we assumed a composite function containing a single inner function, but the chain rule can also be applied to higher order functions like f of x is equal to a of b of c of x. So it would be df upon dx is equal to dA upon dB into dB upon dC into dC upon dx. This could be a very long chain, and it is applicable for every chain. We can also write the derivative functions f prime notation, that is a prime of b of c of x into b prime of c of x into c prime x. Okay. Now assume a of x is equal to sin x, b of x is equal to x square, and c of x is equal to 4x. So a prime x would be cos x, b prime x is equal to 2x, c prime x is equal to 4. So a prime of 4x square would be cos of 4x square into 2 times 4x into 4. I hope chain rule and multiple chain rule were quite clear to you. It's actually very simple. If you would practice some examples of it, you would actually get a very good knowledge of it. Now let us see what are gradients. A gradient is a vector that stores the partial derivatives of multivariable functions. It helps us to calculate the slope at a specific point on the curve for functions with the multiple independent variables. In order to calculate this more complex slope, we need to isolate each variable to determine how it impacts the outer output on its own. To do this, we iterate through each of the variables and calculate the derivative of functions after holding all other variables constant. Each iteration produces a partial derivative which we store in the gradient. Okay. Now, gradient would be more clear when we talk about partial derivatives. In functions with two or more variables, the partial derivative is the derivative of one variable with respect to each others. If we change x but hold all the other variables constant, how does f of x comma z change? That's one partial derivative. The next variable is z. If we change z but hold x constant, how would f of x comma z change? Uh, we store partial derivatives in gradient, which represents the full derivative of multivariable functions. Okay. So what does that mean is that partial derivative is the derivative that we take with respect to some variable x when the function f of x is not just function in one variable, but it is function in multiple variables. For example, f of x comma y comma z comma w, and we just take the derivative with respect to x holding all the other three or all the other variables constant. So what would it represent is delta f of x comma y comma z comma w upon delta x. Okay. And this delta is the gradient of the function. Okay. For example, our function is f of x is dependent upon x and z, which like 2z cube into x square. So how to calculate the derivative with respect to x? It would be d of f x comma z upon d of x. So what we would do is we would assume 2z cube to be a constant value, and we would just take the derivative of x square. So as we know, the derivative of x square is 2x, so it would be 2z cube into 2x, which is 4x cube. So swap 2z cube with a constant value b, which is equal to bx square, and then we apply the formula, and we would get 2bx. So that would be equal to 4z cube x. Repeat the above steps to calculate the derivative with respect to z. So in this case, we would assume x square to be constant, and for 6x square to be constant, and then we just apply it for z cube, and then we see it for ourselves what would be the result. Okay. Now, directional derivatives. Another important concept is directional derivatives. When calculating the partial derivatives of multivariable functions, we use our old technique of analyzing the impact of infinitesimally small increases to each of our independent variables. By increasing each variable, we alter the function's output in direction of the slope. But what if we want to change directions? For example, imagine we are traveling north through mountainous terrain on 3D plane. The gradient we calculated above tells us we are traveling north at our current location. But what if we want to travel southwest? How can we determine the steepness of the hills in the southwest directions? Directional derivatives help us to find the slope if we move in a direction different from the one specified by the gradient. Okay, now let us see the math. You need to know some vector concept for to understand this clearly. Okay, the directional derivative is computed by taking the dot product of the gradient of f and a unit vector v vector of tiny nudges representing the direction. The unit vector describes the propositions we want to move in each direction. The output of this calculation is scalar number representing how much f will change in the current input moves with vector v. Let's say if you have the function f of x comma y comma z and you want to compute its directional derivative along the vector 2. Okay. Now as described, we take the dot product of gradient and the directional vector. Okay. So we can rewrite the dot product as 2d of f of x in plus 3d f upon dy minus 1 into df upon dz. This should make sense because a tiny nudge along v vector can be broken down into two tiny nudges in the z direction, three tiny nudges in the y direction, and tiny nudge backwards by minus 1 in the z direction. Now what we can take from directional derivatives is, for example, uh, let us assume that we are traveling on a line whose slope is pointing in a direction, or which line is pointing in a direction northeast. Now we have to travel in some another direction. The direction is given by a vector v. The vector v can be northeast or it can be another direction. So the dot product in this case represents how much how much f would change, that is delta f, if we change our direction from northeast to the vector v. So that is what it is represented by directional derivatives. And for using directional derivatives, we actually need partial derivatives, because df upon dx is nothing but a partial derivative with respect to x, and similarly y and z are also needed. So directional derivative is a application of partial derivatives, and in this case the change that we need with respect to x is 2 times, with respect to y is 3 times, and with respect to z is one time but in opposite direction. So that is what is how a delta f would change when we change from that direction to 2 comma 3 comma minus 1. Okay, now the useful properties. There are two additional properties of gradients that are especially useful in deep learning. The gradient of a function always points in the direction of greatest increase of a function, and the gradient of a function is 0 at local maximum or local minimum. For example, assume a parabolic curve. A parabolic curve has just a local optimum, or a global optimum is same because it has just a optimum. So in this case, if you see, the slope at this point would be a horizontal line. The horizontal line slope is 0. If you increase, if you go on the right side, you would see the slope would be positive, and if you go on the left side, the slope would be negative. So as the slope is negative and slope is positive, if we come from left side to right side, there is a decrease, and if we come from right side to left side, there is a increase in the slope. So this is what it tells us, that the slope is 0 at a local maximum or local minimum. And this was it. We have discussed about derivatives. In this part, we would be discussing integrals that is used in machine learning in the next part of the video. Thank you so much.